Hello students, I am Dr. Krupa Rasne, Professor and Head ENC Department, Jain College of Engineering, Belgavi. So let us continue with Module 3 and this is the fourth video of Module 3 in Power Electronics. In this particular Module 3, we will be referring to the textbook of Mohammad H. Rashid, Power Electronic Circuits, Devices and Applications. So in the previous video, we have seen certain problems on half controlled bridge converter or semi-converter. And then we are also looking into fully controlled bridge converter with RL load, full converter. And we have understood the working with waveforms, derivations of output average DC and RMS voltage values, evaluated the output average DC and RMS current values. In this video, we'll be looking into numerical problems on full controlled rectifier and understand dual converters. Let us briefly look into the single phase full wave bridge controller. Well, it will consist of an input transformer. The secondary is connected to the bridge which is consisting of 4 thyristors T1, T2, T3, T4 and we are looking at a load which is inductive in nature. So I will show RL load to be connected here. And we know that during the positive half cycle T1 and T2 is forward biased because this is plus and this is minus, and during the negative half cycle T3 and T4 is forward biased. But since the load is inductive, the inductor current will not allow the current to stop after pi, and hence the thyristors which are conducting during the positive half cycle, that is T1 and T2, will continue to conduct after pi also till the next firing angle triggers the other two thyristors in the bridge. So what we observe is T1 and T2 is forward biased in the positive half cycle but do not conduct till the angle alpha when the gate is applied, and from alpha to pi plus alpha T1 and T2 is going to conduct. So we have seen this, right? And because this and this is connected, conducting, this point is connected to the load, this point is connected to the load, and whatever is at the input during this point, you will get at the output. So from alpha to pi, whatever is at the input, that is this part, it will come at the output. Now, when T3 and T4 is triggered, what happens? See, T3 is connected here, right? And when it conducts, this point gets connected to the load. So, the input points get reversed at the load, right? Because of T3 and T4. So, T4 will conduct. So, this point is short circuited to this point. So, whatever is the input voltage will appear as a reversed voltage, right? Reverse voltage. So if it is negative, it becomes positive. So I get this voltage until the next firing which occurs at 2 pi plus alpha. So this is what we have seen even in the previous video, and because I see in this, because of this inductive load and no freewheeling diode, I get this negative at the output along with the positive. So whichever area is greater, if this area is greater than this in one complete cycle, that tells you what the average power. So if the area is more in the positive, the average power will be positive. If the area is more, now if I increase alpha, what happens is this area will reduce but this area will increase. So because of that, you will get more negative and hence you will get a negative average value or a DC average value. So you will be able to get both positive half cycle as well as positive voltage as well as negative voltage is both possible. But you will note that in both the cases of half cycle, the current through the load will always flow in this direction only. So what will happen is the current through the load is always positive, but the voltage can be positive or negative depending upon alpha going from 0 to pi. And we have also seen that when alpha is 90 degrees, the average will be 0 because the positive area will become equal to the negative area. So the average value will become 0. And hence we saw this particular graph where it shows that when alpha, this is basically alpha versus the average DC voltage, as long as alpha is less than 90 degrees, right, the output voltage is always positive. And when alpha is greater than 90 degrees, you are going to get average voltage which is negative. This part we call it as a rectification, this we call it as inversion. Now why I have re-explained this particular bridge controller is because we are further going to learn something called as a dual converter. Okay, and you should remember that in this type of converter, it is a two-quadrant operation where I get positive voltage, negative voltage, but current is always positive. Okay. And we have also derived the output average value as VDC equal to 2 Vm by pi cos alpha and V naught RMS as Vm by root 2 E, which is equal to RMS supply voltage, that is Vs itself. So now let us look at this particular problem. The full converter as in figure is connected to a 120 volts 60 hertz supply. The load current IA can be assumed to be continuous and its ripple content is negligible. So IA will be DC continuous. The turns ratio of the transformer is unity, means whatever is at primary will come at the secondary. Express the input current in Fourier series and determine the performance parameters such as harmonic factor of the input current HF, displacement factor DF, and input power factor PF. So this is the same thing what we did for your half wave bridge converter, that is semi-converters. Okay, and part B we will see later where we have to substitute the value of pi by 3 to evaluate VDC, VN, RMS, VRMS, HF, DF and PF. Okay. Now let us understand the performance parameters of a single phase full converter. We have done very similarly for a semi converter, that is half wave bridge converter. Okay. So in this particular they have said that delay angle is pi by 3 and we'll repeat the example, but before that the waveform for input current is basically an instantaneous. So this is your full converter and this is your output voltage, and we are assuming that the load current is continuous, right, and DC, pure DC. So we know from alpha to pi plus alpha, T1 and T2 will carry the current of the load. This is the load current, and from pi plus alpha to your 2 pi plus alpha, your T3 and T4 will be carrying the load. So if you look at the input at the transformer side, this current, when these two are conducting, the current will flow like this, right, and to the load and back through this. And when this input reverses, this becomes minus and this becomes plus, that time the current through the device will go through T3 and back, and it will come to like this. So the current will be reverse to the previous one. So here I'll get positive and here I'm talking about negative, right? So this is not load current, we are talking about the supply current, right? So because of this we have to analyze the Fourier series, what we have done for your semi converter. So we know that I of t equal to, we have a Fourier series representation with DC component plus the summation of all the harmonics that are involved, and we have seen this formula earlier and where we evaluated the value of AN and BN. So we know the AN for IDC, okay, is nothing but the average value, and what will be the average value for the current? Because there is a positive and there is a negative, obviously this part will cancel with this and I am going to get negative. We can also show it with the formula, that is IDC is 1 upon 2 pi and it is going to flow from alpha to 2 pi plus alpha. So full 2 pi cycle I of t dt. So what is it? This is IA, right? From alpha we are going to split this alpha to 2 pi plus alpha into two areas, alpha to pi plus alpha and pi plus alpha to 2 pi plus alpha. So alpha to pi plus alpha and pi plus alpha to 2 pi plus alpha. So between alpha to pi plus alpha, the current is Ia, that is positive Ia, and during this value pi plus alpha to 2 pi plus alpha, the current is going to be negative. That's why this minus has come. So obviously this term will cancel with this term and you are going to get average value as 0. Okay. And we know that an formula, we have already, this formula we have seen, that is an is equal to 1 upon pi alpha to 2 pi plus alpha I of t cos n omega t d omega t. And is using this formula again between alpha to 2 pi plus alpha, splitting it into two values, we take cos of n omega t inside with, as this formula says, okay, and then integrate this term, and we should be able to get minus 4 Ia upon n pi into sine of n alpha, right? And this is only for the odd values of the harmonics, n equal to 1, 3, 5. And if I substitute even values for n, that is 2, 4, obviously this term will become 0. So this will be the value for an, which I need to substitute here. Similarly, I'll have to evaluate the value of Bn. Now, how do I evaluate the value of Bn? We have seen earlier that Bn has a formula and it is equal to your Bn, which is 1 upon pi alpha to 2 pi plus alpha I of t sine n omega t d omega t. So if I use this formula, split it again between alpha to pi plus alpha and pi plus alpha to 2 pi plus alpha, use the same thing inside, integrate this term, I should be able to get 4 Ia upon n pi into cos n alpha, and this is valid value for Bn for all the odd harmonics, that is 1, 3, 5, and is equal to 0 for all the even harmonics for n equal to 2, 4, etc. So this is the Bn value. Now since IDC is 0, your first equation can be rewritten as I of t equal to this part IDC plus we had, so this part is 0, and hence substituting your An and Bn, right? So I will be getting summation of n equal to 1 to 2 till infinite root of 2 in sine omega t plus phi n. So this is by substituting the value of An and Bn. And here we will get this angle phi of n, right, which will be given as tan inverse of An upon Bn. We know the value of An and Bn, right, and substituting I'll be getting the phase angle as minus n phi, minus n alpha. So phi n is nothing but the displacement angle of the nth harmonic. So In becomes equal to 1 upon root 2. This is the formula for In, nth harmonic component, into An square plus Bn square under the root sign. So substituting the value of An and Bn, I should be getting 4 Ia upon root 2 into n pi. Getting this root 2 on top, this will become 2 root 2 Ia by n pi. And the RMS value of the fundamental current. Fundamental current is when I put n equal to 1, I will be getting I1 as 2 root 2 Ia, obviously divided by pi because n is 1. The RMS value of the input current can be evaluated by this IN equation, that is 5. So I will get Is is nothing but summation of all the harmonics into In square under the root sign. So with this I can evaluate the supply RMS value of the current. So Is can also be determined directly, right? If I know the waveform, I can use the waveform, and I'll evaluate Is as, because I'll be getting 2 pulses for one cycle, 2 upon 2 pi alpha to pi plus alpha, right? Both are going for a period of pi, right? Ia square d omega t under the root sign. This value comes out to be equal to Ia. So what it tells is RMS supply current is equal to the RMS load current. So we note that the harmonic factor is found by, we have seen this formula, we are familiar with it. Harmonic factor is Is by I1 the whole square minus 1, the whole thing under the root sign. And if I substitute this value of Is and I1, right, here, I will be getting it as for 0.4834 or 48% harmonic factor. And we know that displacement factor df is nothing but cos of phi 1, and that will be written as cos of minus alpha, right? Displacement angle we know is n alpha. So for phi 1 it will be n is 1, so it will be cos of minus alpha. The power factor is found by Pf equal to I1 by Is cos of minus alpha, and this will come out to 2 root 2 by pi upon cos alpha. So before going ahead with the problem, let us summarize the formulas that we learned. So output DC average voltage of a full converter is V0 DC is 2 Vm by pi cos alpha. Next, output RMS voltage VRMS is same as the input supply voltage, which is Vm by root 2. The instantaneous input supply current is given by I of t equal to summation of all the harmonics root 2 in sin omega t plus phi n, where your phi n is nothing but the displacement angle, which is given by minus n alpha. Then the nth harmonic component of a full converter In is given as 2 root 2 Ia by n pi, where Ia is the load current. Then the fundamental component is got by putting n equal to 1. So we get I1 equal to 2 root 2 Ia by pi. Next is input RMS supply current Is, and it is same as the load current. Then the harmonic factor we have seen comes to 0.4834, okay, and which is coming to 48.34%. Then the displacement factor, since phi is equal to cos of phi 1, since phi of n is minus n alpha, we substitute phi 1 n as 1, so I get cos of minus alpha. Power factor is equal to 2 root 2 by pi cos alpha. So these are the formulas that we have just derived in the previous. Now we will use these formulas and substitute for the part B of the problem. So for part B of the problem, for alpha equal to pi by 3, we also substitute Vm as root 2 into Vs, where Vs is given as 120 in the problem, and it comes to 169.83. So VDC can be evaluated as 2 Vm by pi cos alpha. Put alpha as pi by 3 and Vm as 169.83. That should give you 54.02 volts. Then calculating for VRMS, we get Vm by root 2, which is equal to Vs, which is equal to 120 volts. And I1 is equal to 2 root 2 Ia by pi. So substituting Ia and keeping Ia as it is, because we don't know the value, 2 root 2 by pi, it comes to 0.9002. And Is is same as Ia. And harmonic factor, it has already been calculated, it comes to 48.34%. And phi 1 is minus alpha, and distortion factor is cos of minus alpha. Put alpha as pi by 3, you should get 0.5. So distortion factor is 0.5. Ideally distortion factor should be 0, harmonic factor should be 0, and power factor should be also 0. So here we are getting 0.45 lagging by putting the formula, using this formula. So note that the fundamental component of input current is always 90.03% of I, okay, and the harmonic factor remains at 48.34%. So let us understand the next topic, that is single phase dual converter. The name itself tells you that it is made up of two converters, or it is basically made up of two full converters, and it is connected as shown in the figure. So what we see in this figure is basically we have got a load here, right? RL load, and we have got the converter, full converter, as explained previously on this side. So this part we have just completely studied, okay. And this is another converter, okay, wherein it has been see the connection, it has been reversely connected, okay. So this is also a full converter by itself. If you see, it is same as this, okay, except it this will be carrying the current in this direction, whereas this will carry the current through the load in the opposite direction. So that is the two different things. Both are going to give you, if you have to see the quadrantal operation, we know that there is a rectification operation as well as inversion operation. This operation is done by one converter, okay, we call it as converter 1, and the other two quadrant operation is done by converter 2, okay. This is carrying positive current, right? So basically the first quadrant and this fourth quadrant is basically by this converter 1, which is carrying the positive current like this, okay. And this is basically having you the negative current, where current will flow through the load like this. And since it's a full converter, it will give you both positive and negative voltage. So dual converter basically operate in all the four quadrants of operation. So I can either use only this converter, one in operation, and of this converter, in which case it will act like a simple single full converter operation. If I on the off this and on this, it will behave in this quadrant, okay. So where is this useful? This basically is useful. Suppose I am using this dual converter to in a car driven, battery driven or electric vehicles, you can say, and I want to run the motor in the, or the car in the forward direction. That time I'll make this off and only this particular thing can be used. So the car is moving in the forward direction. Let's assume that if I give positive voltage here, right, and current flowing here, so alpha has to be less than 90 degrees for this case, okay, to generate positive voltage, and alpha has to be greater than 90 degrees if I want negative. When do I want negative? I want negative when I want to go in a reverse direction. So in that case, I'll apply negative voltage, but the reverse current cannot flow. So for reverse motor to go, I need a reverse current to flow. So if I want the car to go in a reverse direction, I should off this and I should on this. Okay. So when alpha is greater than 90 degrees, what is happening is I'm getting a negative voltage here, but the current is still flowing positive, and that is the effect when I have something called as a braking effect. That is, I'm slowing the speed. The car is going in the forward direction, but I am slowing the speed of operation. Okay, so that happens when the voltage is negative, this quadrant. Okay, the current is going forward, means it is moving ahead, but I am applying brakes by putting a negative voltage across the load. So it is quadrant 4, whereas if I am accelerating and moving ahead in the forward direction, I am increasing the current. So current is positive and voltage is also positive. This particular thing comes into picture when I'm driving the car in the reverse direction. So in that case, the current will be flowing in the reverse direction through the load. Okay, so it will be basically this. So speeding in the reverse direction will give you negative voltage and negative current. And when you are applying a brake in the reverse direction, you will be basically in this second operation by giving positive voltage and negative current. So basically we know when to get positive voltage is by making this alpha to fire before 90 degrees. When to get negative degrees, by making alpha greater than 90 degrees. The same principle holds good here. When alpha is less than 90 degrees, I am going to get negative voltage here because of the connection. Okay, so the polarity of the CRO, if I connect there, it will be reversed. So for alpha less than 90 degrees, I'll be getting negative. For alpha greater than 90 degrees, I'll be getting positive. Now what we want to know is what will happen if both of them are simultaneously conducting. Okay, so let the car be moving in the forward direction and I'm increasing the speed. In that case, this converter will take over. Okay, and I'm applying positive voltage and the current is also going positive through the load. At the same time, this will be in picture, but it will not be carrying the load current, and it will simply be using something called as the circulating current. That will happen because there is a difference of instantaneous voltage between this point and this point. Okay, so you can operate dual converter either in a single mode or by both the converters simultaneously operating. The advantage of having both the converters operating simultaneously is that smooth conversion from forward motion to reverse motion of the motor can be achieved. So at this stage, this is the waveform that we have to note. This is the input signal that we'll be giving at the input of these two converters, full converters, and this is converter 1 output, right? And we have seen that it will these two thyristors will conduct in the positive half cycle, right, from alpha to pi plus alpha, because the load is inductive, will go beyond pi till pi plus alpha. So I'll be getting this output, and then the other two thyristors will take over and it will conduct. Now there is a clinch here that if I'll call the firing angle that is given to this converter as alpha 1, then the firing angle that should be given to this converter 2 will be pi minus alpha 1. That is the rule that will be followed. Okay, if I have to achieve the same voltage output here same, looked at from this side also and this side also, if it has to be same, then they have to have the condition that pi alpha alpha 1 plus alpha 2 should be equal to pi. Okay, so if alpha 1 is given here, this has to be pi minus alpha 1. Okay, then the waveform, if you see, because I'm going to get an inverted picture here, the waveform will be looking at like this from this point of view, from this side, and that is the output of converter 2. Now, if I look at converter 1 output and converter 2 output, okay, so converter 2, both of them are converting working as a full converter. But if you see the instantaneous voltage, see there is a negative here, but there is nothing here, whereas there is a positive. So till this point, okay, maybe if I add this voltage and this voltage is what we are looking at with this waveform and this waveform. That is, this waveform will occur at this point and this waveform will occur at this point. So note that instantaneous voltage means at particular some voltages, right, from this voltage to this voltage, they are not same at instantaneous, though the average value of both output voltages are same because they are coming in parallel. Average voltage, DC voltage of both the converters are same. The instantaneous values are different. You can see the difference in the wave shape. So the instantaneous values are different. So this voltage minus this voltage, if I subtract this voltage with this voltage, I will be getting, see here, this point is been there, whereas it is not there here. So this minus this, I should be getting this, and from here to here this is also available and this is also available, right? So from that point, this minus this, it will be 0, right? Again, this is available here, but this will be in the inverted format because it is converted to output. So I am looking at a voltage between this point and this point. So this point is positive, this point is negative. So this voltage will come on top and it will show it like this. Okay, so this is what I am getting. This is called as the voltage that is generated between this point and this point. This voltage has to be, actually DC value will be, DC component value will be the same for both, right? But AC component, there is a difference between this point and this point. Because of this voltage, there will be a circulating current between them. So this voltage appears only as seen by these two converters, but for the load it will not be there. The load will be using only the DC current that will be flowing through this. Either it is in this direction if it is carried by this converter, or it will be in this direction if the load current is carried by this particular converter. Since we are using two converters, we call it as dual converters, and dual converters are also called as 4-quadrant operation devices. Okay, and it converts basically again AC to DC only. Now, as I told you, though the DC voltages across the load of both the converters are same, the instantaneous voltages are different, and which results basically in an instantaneous circulating current because of the difference in the two voltages across the inductors that I showed you. So V01 is the instantaneous output voltage of converter 1, and V02 is the instantaneous output voltage of converter 2. The circulating current or IR can be determined by integrating the instantaneous voltage differences, which is the voltage drop across the circulating current reactor LR. Okay, starting from omega t equal to 2 pi minus alpha 1. As the two average output voltages during the interval omega t equal to pi plus alpha 1 to 2 pi minus alpha 1 are equal and opposite, their contribution to the instantaneous circulating current IR is 0. Since the instantaneous voltage across the two converters, that is across the inductor, is different, or there is a difference in the voltage, there is a circulating current that will flow. Now, the circulating current can be evaluated using this formula, that is the voltage across the current across the inductor is given by 1 upon LR integration of the voltage across it. And we can take the limits from 2 pi minus alpha to omega t because it is a continuous waveform. So VR is nothing but V01 minus V02, where V01 is the output of converter 1 and V02 is the output of converter 2. So that has been shown here in this. So this is the circulating current that will happen because the instantaneous voltage between V01 and V02, there is a difference. See here we have this kind of a waveform here, whereas there is no voltage here, whereas there is a voltage from here to here. So from here to here you are supposed to here it is basically here there is nothing here, right? So what happens is there is going to be certain voltages as shown like this, and that will result in this kind of a current, and that we call it as IR. So as the output voltage V02 is negative, right, because we have inverted that second converter across the load, we can take the circulating voltage VR as V01 plus V02 instead of V01 minus V02. We can now write it as V01 plus V02. So substituting this value in this equation, I will be getting this as the IR, that is the circulating current, and it should be equal to this particular equation. So here in this we have understood that a circulating current flows. It is not DC current, and this circulating current in no way affects the DC current that is flowing through the load. This is simply flowing from one converter to the another converter, and they are circulating among each other, not flowing through the load, and that happens because of the instantaneous difference in the voltages that is coming between the two converters. So continuing with the circulating current derivation, so we know that IR is equal to 1 upon omega LR integrate VR d omega t between 2 pi minus alpha to omega t. Okay, so V01 I have shown here in the red, V01 for the period 2 pi minus alpha to omega t. So here 2 pi minus alpha, this is the period to omega t. You can see in this period it is basically minus Vm sin omega t, that is V01. In V01, see this is the sign Vm sin omega t, and so this is your Vm sin omega t, and for the reverse it is going to get rectified, right? So what happens is this will be actually the minus Vm sin omega t. So this is minus sin omega t. Similarly for V02, this is again minus sin Vm sin omega t, but that time V02 is having this voltage, right, negative. So if you see the integration, V01 is equal to, for 2 pi minus alpha 1, 2 pi minus alpha 1 is this period. From here to here it is going to be minus Vm sin omega t. So substituting, you will see that this is V01, where I have substitute V01 as minus Vm sin omega t, whereas for V02 it is going to be this waveform, right, which is Vm sin omega t. So V0 minus V01 minus V02, if I take, this is V01 minus of V02. V02 is Vm sin omega t. This is what it is coming. Okay, so solving this, I'll be getting a ripple current derivation as 2 Vm upon omega Lr cos omega t minus cos alpha 1. Simple integration we have to do here, and solve it, put the limits, and you will be getting this particular formula. This ripple current derivation is important from examination point of view. You will have to draw the dual converter circuit, then you will have to draw the waveforms for V01, V02, and the ripple current voltage waveform VR, and then explain that IR is nothing but the voltage across the inductor between the two converters. Okay, put substitute in this formula and you should be getting the circulating current equation. So the instantaneous value of the circulating current, it depends upon the delay angle. So note that it is dependent on the delay angle. So for triggering angle, alpha 1 is, for trigger angle, delay angle, let's say alpha 1 is 0. The magnitude of the circulating current becomes minimum when alpha 1 is 0. And when omega t is equal to n pi, n is equal to 0, 2, 4, and magnitude is going to become very high. So IP is equal to IL max, which is equal to Vm by RL. IP means peak current. Okay, so peak current is same as the load current maximum, which is equal to Vm by RL, and circulating current maximum is given as, so we have to substitute, and it becomes 2 Vm upon omega Lr, 4 Vm upon omega Lr, and this is maximum circulating current that you can get. So a dual converter basically can be operated in two different modes of operation. One is non-circulating current or circulating current free mode of operation, and the other is circulating current mode of operation. So non-circulating current mode of operation, in this mode only one converter is operated at any given time. Either converter 1 is operating or either converter 2 is operating, but both are not operating simultaneously. One is on, the other is off. So when converter 1 is on, alpha 1 is between 0 to 90 degrees and VDC is positive, right, because it operates in the first quadrant, and IDC is also positive. When the converter 2 is on and alpha 2 is between 0 to 90 degrees, VDC is negative. Okay, this is the third quadrant, and IDC is also negative. Then coming to circulating current mode of operation. In this mode of operation, both the converters are switched on and operated at the same time. So converter 1 and converter 2 both are in the same time operation. So in this case, the trigger angles alpha 1 and alpha 2 are adjusted such that alpha 1 plus alpha 2 is 180 degrees. Okay, and alpha 2 is therefore 180 degrees minus alpha 1. Now this is necessary because we need same DC voltage to appear across the load. So when alpha 1 is less than 90 degrees, Converter 1 operates as a controlled rectifier and converter 2 operates as an inverter with alpha 2 from 90 degrees to 180 degrees. Got it? So we know that you can be either in rectification mode or inversion mode. So if the alpha is less than 90 degrees, it is rectification. If alpha is greater than 90, it is inverter. So when converter 1 is having alpha less than 90 degrees, converter should work in the other mode, that is inverter mode. Okay. So in this case, VDC and IDC both are going to be positive. So when alpha 1 is operating in the inverter mode, that is from 90 degrees to 180 degrees, converter 1 operates as an inverter and converter 2 operates as a controlled rectifier by adjusting its angle alpha 2 such that alpha 2 is between 0 to 90 degrees. So in this case, converter 1 is acting as an inverter and converter 2 is acting as an rectifier. So in this case, what happens? VDC and IDC both are going to be negative. So thank you students for your patient listening. If you have any queries, please get back to me. Thank you so much.